For most of the 20th century, archaeology textbooks agreed on one strict timeline. The first humans arrived in the Americas exactly 13,000 years ago. They were known as the Clovis people, named after the distinctive stone spear points they left behind. The mechanics of this arrival were tied to the climate. As the last ice age began to thaw, a narrow, ice-free corridor opened between the massive continental glaciers. Hunter-gatherers supposedly walked across a lame bridge from Asia and funneled south through this newly exposed passage. This timeline hardened into a rigid academic rule known as Clovis First. Defying it carried immense professional risk. Any researcher claiming to find an older site faced severe backlash, and pushing back against the consensus could easily derail an entire career. Breaking through that wall of dogma required more than alternative theories. Researchers would need physical, unarguable geological proof that placed humans in the Americas long before that icy corridor ever opened. Curious, that proof emerged from the high desert of eastern Oregon, at a quiet, shallow rock overhang called Rimrock Draw. While excavating the site, researchers unearthed small tools shaped from orange agate. When they examined the edges of these tools, they found the microscopic, dried residue of blood from an extinct species of bison. The true significance of these scrapers lay in what buried them. Above the tools sat an undisturbed layer of volcanic ash. Geology dictates that what lies beneath is older than what lies above, and this specific ash came from a massive eruption of Mount St. Helens. To pinpoint the exact age, researchers extracted fragments of tooth enamel from extinct camels and bison found in the same geological layer. The radiocarbon dating results returned a calendar age of 18,250 years, placing people at the site over 5,000 years before the Clovis people supposedly arrived. This creates a geographic conflict. 18,000 years ago, the ice-free corridor down the middle of the continent was still choked with towering glaciers. The first Americans had to have arrived via a completely different route. With the inland path blocked, scientists turned toward the water, developing the Kelp Highway hypothesis. The Pacific coastline was lined with dense kelp forests teeming with fish, shellfish, seals, and seabirds. People moving by boat could have easily followed this rich ecological zone southward, completely bypassing the frozen interior. The idea of Ice Age mariners navigating open water sounds unlikely until you look at the Mediterranean. Archaeologists have found ancient tools on the island of Crete, proving that much older, pre-human ancestors successfully crossed the open sea more than 100,000 years ago. Looking at this map tracking mitochondrial DNA, researchers focused on a specific lineage called D4H to test the coastal route. Because this genetic signature is passed down only from mothers, it acts like an unbroken compass. By analyzing tens of thousands of samples, geneticists traced this lineage back to a specific origin point on the northern coast of China. As we follow the data, the map reveals two distinct waves of migration. Driven by a harsh climate, populations moved outward from the Chinese coastline, navigating along the edges of the Pacific Rim toward Japan and the Americas. These lineages describe a branching maritime culture, navigators who tracked the edges of the sea long before the interior ice began to melt. This shifting narrative carries a human cost for the scientists involved.
In the 1970s, archaeologist Jacques Cinq-Mars found butchery marks on animal bones in the Yukon's Bluefish Caves, dating back 24,000 years. Instead of investigating his data, the scientific establishment mocked his findings and sidelined his career. In 2017, researchers placed those exact same bones under a microscope. They applied 6 strict physical criteria, measuring the precise depth, profile, and trajectory of the grooves. The cuts satisfied every single metric, proving definitively that they were made by human tools. Cinq-Mars was right all along. The field allowed its consensus to blind it to the physical evidence for 40 years, showing that deep-seated academic dogma often crumbles against hard forensic reality. While bones and stone tools can be debated, another site offers a different category of evidence. At White Sands National Park in New Mexico, the mud of an ancient lakebed captured the direct, undeniable footprints of early humans. The tracks freeze split-second interactions in time. You can see the paths of teenagers running, a parent setting down a toddler and picking them back up, and a giant ground sloth circling cautiously as it realized it was being followed. Researchers initially radiocarbon dated aquatic seeds embedded in the tracks to 23,000 years ago. Skeptics immediately challenged this, noting water plants can absorb old carbon and skew the results. To settle the debate, scientists employed two entirely independent clocks. They radiocarbon dated terrestrial pine pollen, and they used optically stimulated luminescence to determine the exact time the surrounding quartz sand last saw sunlight. Because all three independent methods agreed perfectly, these footprints stand as undeniable proof that families lived, hunted, and thrived deep in the American Southwest during the absolute unforgiving peak of the Ice Age. With the 13,000-year barrier shattered, the timeline is stretching into deeply controversial territory. In Southern California, the Cerruti Mastodon site has become the most contested archaeological claim of our time. Excavators unearthed mastodon bones bearing fresh spiral fractures, the kind of break that only happens to living bone when smashed for marrow. Resting right next to them were heavy, broken stone anvils that have no geological reason for being in that fine sediment layer. Using a method called uranium-thorium dating, geologists tested the bones. The results didn't point to 20,000 or even 30,000 years ago. The site dated to approximately 130,000 years old. The implications of that number are staggering. Our own ancestors had barely begun migrating out of Africa at that time. If these marks are genuine, it means an archaic, pre-sapiens relative of humanity successfully navigated the ocean to reach the Americas more than 100,000 years before modern humans mapped the globe. The tidy textbook story of a single group walking down a corridor through the ice is entirely gone. The reality is a vast, complex map of coastal routes, interactions with lost megafauna, and multiple waves of maritime migration spanning tens of thousands of years. Underneath the radiocarbon dates and genetic markers, these discoveries are traces of ordinary people. A blood-stained scraper, a butchered jawbone, a child's footprint in the mud are the remnants of families surviving in a harsh and beautiful world. Science constantly demands that we tear down our most fiercely guarded beliefs. The human journey into the Americas is older and more varied than we ever imagined, and it requires just as much courage to uncover that truth today as it took to walk into the frozen unknown.